Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's my 2010 Camaro SS project car, and today we're going to be adding line lock. So I've done a lot of work to this car over the past year. It was a bone stock L99. My goal was to double the rear wheel horsepower, which I did, and I was able to document it on my channel. So if you want to check those videos out, if you're interested in doing the same or seeing how I did it, I have a lot of detail in actually doing the work. I did it all myself, and I have a parts list on there with all the costs. So I accomplished that. So this summer, I'd like to bring the car to the track, to New England Dragway, and I still have a couple items left to do. One of them is upgrading my rear differential, and the other one is adding line lock. So when I was looking for line lock kits, there was a couple of, I guess, demands that I wanted. One of them was I didn't want the solenoid near any heat sources, and I didn't want the brake lines near a heat source, which is the headers, obviously. A lot of the kits put the solenoid beneath the master cylinder. It is nice and clean. The only problem is it's very close to the headers, and those headers generate a lot of heat. And then when you have the brake lines coming off of the solenoid, they're getting even closer to the headers. So now you're potentially boiling your brake fluid. This car, for me, I daily drive it on nice days. It's probably going to see maybe 2 or 3 days at the track. I'll use the line lock around town for fun, but it's not going to get much action. So it's just going to be sitting there really just heat soaking all summer. So I really wanted something remote. I was thinking about putting something behind the master cylinder, fabbing up my own brake lines. And then I came across the SJM kit, which remote mounts the solenoid over by the fuse box. And that's what we're going to do today. So I bought the kit. We're going to install that. I'm going to show you step by step how I'm going to do it. There's a couple things I'm going to change, and I'm going to put the button actually in a spot. I don't know if anybody else has actually put it there, but I'll explain that after. Another thing I like about this kit and it being over here, this is a very cool area underneath the hood. It's behind the headlight. Some air bypasses past the headlight up underneath through the wheel well. So it is going to be cooler over here, just like the cold air inductions box. It's the whole point. This is closed off from the engine bay. It's very heat soaked under here, so it's pulling cool air from the fender well and behind the front bumper cover and the headlight. So I think this is pretty much the best kit you can buy for longevity, and it looks really neat. All right, so here's the kit. This is how it comes right out of the box. Comes with the instruction manual, SJM solenoid. You can opt for the Holley solenoid with the pre-bent lines, but I went with SJM. It's rebuildable. So get the pre-bent lines already flared, ready to go. Comes with the adapter. It's 12 volt switched power for the solenoid. Comes with the fuse holder, toggle switch, some wiring, all the connectors you need, and then the push button switch, which is pretty trick. It's aluminum, has SJM right on the button, and has a red LED ring when it's powered up on the outside. It's pretty sweet. All right, first step's disconnecting the battery. 10mm nut, took that off. You can pop this right off, pull it to the side, push the cap back down so it can't reconnect itself. All right, next step is to take a bunch of rags or an old t-shirt, wrap this module really good. Brake fluid will damage paint. You want to wrap it underneath the motor also, so shove your hand underneath. It's going to wick down this block and hit your fender. So wrap this very well to capture any brake fluid that's going to come out of here. And then another tip is, it's in the steps, and it makes sense, is to leave that cap on the master cylinder. It's no different than putting your thumb at the end of a straw, and you can hold the fluid in the straw, and the second you release your thumb, the fluid comes out. That's what that cap's going to do by keeping it on. So don't remove the cap. All right, step 3 is relocating this connector to the other side of this piece of sheet metal here. So if you just push down, and then you can tilt out, and then you can go up and out. All right, so the connector's disconnected. I'm now gonna just flip it over to the other side. I am gonna twist it, a little over twist it just a hair so it'll stay straight, and then put it back in on this opposite side. Yeah, there we go. Needed 2 hands. But you have this clipped right in, same hole, just flipped over to the other side. Next step is to pull this wire loom out, just so you can pull it off to the side, just to make room to get the kit in. All right, next step is removing the brake line from the master cylinder to the ABS module. So it's MC1. I don't know if you can see that on here. It's engraved. It's actually marked MC1 and MC2. So master cylinder 1, master cylinder 2. You can just see it. And then there's MC2, so that'd be for your rear brakes. So that line's feeding your rears, which is these two lines. Let me zoom out here. These two lines, and these are feeding your front. So we're gonna remove this guy right here. All right, so surprisingly enough, I got that line off and didn't even lose a drop of brake fluid. But that's the next step, is to pull it up on top of that block in between the two brake lines to accept the adapter. Next step, install the brass union. I didn't tighten it up yet, it's just on there loose. All right, so I got the brake lines loosely fitted. You wanna start with the master cylinder to solenoid line first. That one goes below the one that goes to the brakes. So you put this in nice and loosely first, carry it around, and you can see I don't have it connected to the solenoid. And then you can hook up from the block, from your module to the solenoid, which goes to your front brakes last. So that one's gonna sit on top. Like I said, it's still loose. And then the solenoid itself, you grab a hold of the silver pot with one hand, gold with the other, and you're gonna wanna twist it to get it so that the mounting tabs are against the sheet metal, and this is pointing straight up. So now I'm gonna connect these fittings to the solenoid loosely, and then I'm gonna mark on the sheet metal where these holes line up so that I can mount the body to the sheet metal with the supplied bolts. But it's pretty straightforward once you start doing it. Like I said, you want to go from the master cylinder to the solenoid first, because that lays on the bottom, and then this one goes on top, the one that goes to the front brakes. I got the hard lines connected. Everything's just hand tight. And then I have on that sheet metal, I have a hole marked that I need to drill to mount this. The next step shows you disassembling the fuse box, removing the fuel box to drill it from this side. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So I'm taking this connector back off that sheet metal plate, and then this connector, you push in the lower tab, you could slide the whole unit up, and I'm just gonna push this out of the way, pull that out of the way with this connector, and I'm gonna bend this sheet metal down, like I just did with my thumb, drill it, and then bend it right back and put it back together. I just think this is a lot quicker. You don't have to mess with the fuse box. So see how that goes. I'm gonna drill that hole right now. I'm gonna mark the other hole. So now I'm gonna break the lines apart, put it back to where that hole is so I can mark the other one. It's kind of impossible to mark it when it's vertical. And then I'll add that hardware, bend it back, and then drop these connectors back in. All right, so there we go. That one connector, I ended up just undoing just to get it completely out of the way. That guy flops over with no problem. Took the hard lines back off. I was able to mark the holes, the upper one and the lower one. And if you don't have a center punch or spring-loaded one, and you're doing work like this, I would just get one. It's they're pretty cheap and they'll last forever. I've had that thing for probably 20 years now. So next thing I'm gonna do is drill this. Before I do that, I'm just gonna grab a piece of scrap sheet metal or steel to put behind this, so when I blow through, I don't go through the box. But I still think this is the easy way to do it. If you're struggling drilling the low one, honestly, one bolt's probably all you need with the hard lines, and this being a nut and a bolt, not a tech screw. But I am gonna put both in. I have a right angle drill also that I know I can get in here. But I actually think, looking at this angle, you can use a regular drill. All right, so I got the solenoid mounted to that piece of sheet metal. As you can see by looking at the one on the right, you don't have to bend it back all that far to drill it. Not that it matters, it's thin sheet metal. You can bend it back and forth, it's not a big deal. And I do have the lower bolt in too. So what I'm gonna do now is tighten those up. I'll bend it back. I'm gonna put the lines on, actually tighten the lines up. You wanna make sure you don't have a ton of constraint on these lines. You don't wanna put any extra stress on the solenoid itself. You don't want to develop leaks in the future too. So if you have to tug on the line one way or another to get it so that these fit in nice and loose, you're not fighting them, you'll be better off in the end. So I'll do that, then we can start wiring this guy up. One more thing, I was able to do this all with just a regular drill. I didn't use the right angle drill. All right, so before I hook up the lines, just to get an idea, so this is bent back. I mean, it doesn't do any damage at all. It's just a piece of sheet metal. Both bolts are in. They're nice and tight. This guy isn't going anywhere. I'm liking this so far. So I'm gonna hook up the lines, tighten those lines for the last time, and then we'll start working on wiring. All right, so mechanically, everything's installed. Just a couple notes. This guy up here, it's a little bit of a bear to get 2 wrenches and get the turn on it. Just be patient. Same thing with this one. I ended up having to use an open-end wrench, and then I was just able to get the closed wrench on it for to get like the final torque on it. But just, again, be patient because the end result is definitely worth it. And then another thing I did is this nut and bolt, I actually flipped. So I have the nut on this side. When I first put this together, I had the nut on that side, and it just hit the connector. So after I flipped it, there's plenty of room. Well, not plenty of room, but it can actually still clip into its holder. So I'm okay with that. And then I also added the ground. So one of these black wires, you can grab either one. It doesn't matter. It's not polarized. Grab one of the black wires, ring terminal, and then connect it right to the back side of this nut. So these are all tight. Connectors are back in, which I think that's the way to go to drill this plate, is just to fold that over. This comes right out of the way and this disconnects, so that's super helpful. I put this connector back in. So I got this one more wire that I have to wire. Before I do the wiring though, the electrical side, I'm gonna bleed the brakes now, so I'm mechanically 100%, and then I'm gonna go to the wiring. All right, so I got the passenger side bled. I'm just working on the driver's side now, wrapping this up. I'm using the Motive Products Power Bleeder. If you haven't used one of these before, get one. It's night and day. Even if you have somebody that can help you all the time, it's a lot cleaner, it's faster, and you get better performance out of it. When you're using the brake and you're stroking the master cylinder, you have a chance of emulsifying the air with the fluid, and you can't get all the small bubbles out there. Eventually they'll work their way out, but by using this power bleeder, you're just pressurizing the reservoir, and it's just pushing the fluid through nice and easy. So you're not rapidly collapsing the bubbles and causing it to emulsify. So I do have a separate video on using this product in particular. The first time I used it, I actually bled all 4 corners and flushed the fluid out of this car. So if you want to check that out, it's on the channel. All right, so the install's complete. Bled the brakes, got the wheels back on. Did the electrical. It's almost impossible for me. I tried a couple of times to get video of doing the wiring under the dash. It's just hard to capture it. It's so dark and it's cramped. It's not really easy getting under this dash. I would recommend taking the seats out. Another thing, make sure you get your seats all the way back before you disconnect the battery. I learned that the hard way. But just to lay out the electrical for you, so you have the 2 black wires coming off the solenoid. One goes right to ground. The other one, you probably can't see it. I hit it, so I chased this wire loom, but basically I went all the way around. I went behind the blower, and on this side of the firewall, I went up and around and then down through the firewall on this side, the driver's side, but that's where I was putting the button anyway. See if I get this to focus. You'll see it sneak right in. I ended up drilling a hole and putting a grommet right on the side of the hood latch, that cable on the left. So that goes right through. And if you see, it's white paint and then it turns into that black panel. That's what I drilled through, was that black panel. It's thin gauge steel. It was easy to go through. It's actually a nice panel if you have to keep running anything through the firewall. I can't really capture. You can kind of see the grommet through the firewall. So that goes through. So that's your power. That's going to be fed to your solenoid. It comes all the way around and it goes to the switch. So now I have an automatic, and I wanted to be able to, I don't know if I can get in and show you, let me see. I wanted to be able to sit in the car, be in the box, have my right hand on the steering wheel because I have the paddle shifters. And I wanted to be able to start in second and then tap to third. And if I had the button down here where everybody else kind of puts them, there's no way for me to shift while holding the button. Or my left hand would have to be across my lap. So what I ended up doing is I put the button right behind my left wheel on the steering column. So right now I'm pushing the button in, and I'm obviously holding the phone, but now I can hold the steering wheel, be in the box, and then let go of the button and then grab the wheel. So where I ended up mounting it was right here on the column. It's nice and clean. There's actually plenty of room behind this panel right here. There was just 2 bolts holding it. I popped it off after I put a pilot hole. So the button's there, and then the switch for the power is right here, on, off. So this is how this wiring scheme goes. This is switch power going to this switch, and then this switch goes to the button. And then the button, when you push it, sends that power to the solenoid. It's pretty straightforward. The wiring diagrams in the instructions, it's really not hard at all. I grabbed switch source from the cigarette lighter. I used one of the taps, which I really don't care for, but I wish there was a fuse panel right underneath this kick panel. Would have made it a lot easier. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like. All right, so you got no power right now. The switch is off. Turn the switch on. You have power. When I push the button, you should hear it click. So yeah, we're good to go. And then when you turn the key off, the light will go off. It is nice and bright, so it'll shine off this bezel right here. Take the key out. It shines off this bezel, so when I'm sitting, even it's pretty bright in here, I can see the red light, which is gonna remind me to come down here and shut it off. But yeah, I think it's gonna work out great. I'll be able to have 2 wheels, 2 hands on the steering wheel. Take my left off when I'm in the box, and the second I let go of that button, my left hand comes right back on the wheel. So I think it's gonna work out great. But hopefully this video has helped you guys. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. If you like what you see, think about subscribing and liking this video. The next one I'm going to be doing is most likely going to be rebuilding the rear differential. I'm in between just turning it in, sending it into Genetti Racing, and just getting theirs already built. But I really want to do it myself. I'll be able to save like a $1,200 if I did it myself anyway. But I like doing my own work. So I'll catch you in the next one, guys. See ya.